Good evening, welcome, and thank you for talking to us about opera tonight, Amanda. It's all yours.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Zori Hick. It is lovely to meet you. I'm so delighted that you're here with us tonight. We're going to talk about some opera. So I just want you to sit back and relax, enjoy the music, and see if you notice what we're talking about through the different ages of opera, if you can hear the differences in the music, which we'll talk about momentarily. Okay, we begin in the late Renaissance and Baroque period. We're talking about the 1590s to the 1750s, way, way back. The Florentine Camerata was an Italian group of musicians, poets, and artistic minds who yearned for the aesthetic style of classical Greek drama. The first opera, which was called Daphne, was written by composers Corsi and Peri in 1598 and was performed in Florence, Italy. The composers based their story on a simple poem. Now, stylistically and compositionally speaking, the first period of opera focused on something called polyphony, which is two or more lines of the music being played together. An example would be a singer and a lute. The named composers of this time were Monteverdi and Handel. You may have heard of Handel's Messiah during the holiday season. That's something that's quite popular that comes around. Now, as opera developed, the music became highly ornamented. This was called the Baroque period, with the term Baroque meaning irregular. Since the style represented grandeur, it became wildly popular as the new monarchies spread throughout Europe, and they appreciated the more lavish things in life. The themes of opera started to explore mythology and religious stories with an oral reflection on Baroque art, with the exaggeration of bold colors and ornate, intricate weavings in the bronze and gold of the art and architecture. Opera reflected this art and architecture by using ornamentation in the musical lines, which expressed bold statements of the heart and otherworldly events. Similar to a monologue in theater, the singer's aria became of prominent use to have the soloist continue the storyline or to divulge their emotions. Arias of this Baroque period were called da capo arias, which were composed of three sections, the third being a repeat of the first, where the singer would get to display their own musical ornamentation. And this can be compared today to what we do in pop music, which is called riffing. Now, as we listen to this first clip, try to pay attention to the polyphony, which is again the two simple musical lines of voice and lute. Okay, now we're entering the classical period, which is the mid to late 1700s. Now, composers of the classical period, they completely rejected the styles of ornamentation. They wanted music written out to be straightforward with no addition by the performers. Now, stylistically, it is homophonic, which is where one melody lives above a chordal structure below and is used a variety of rhythms, melodies, and dynamic structure. Musical markings were now added to the score for specific effect at the request from the composer. An example of this would be something called a crescendo, which means musically to get louder, or diminuendo, which means gradually get softer, or my personal favorite, the sforzando, which means quickly get louder. Um, these sort of these specific effects I always found they're really cool. They're written in the music with little shapes above the music. It's pretty neat. Now, orchestras were increasing in size and range for their use of instrumentation. Harpsichords were now replaced by pianos during this era. Instead of vocal ornamentation, composers used melody, mode, key, and change of instruments to shift the listener's emotions. Mozart was the grandest composer of the classical era, producing more than 20 operas before his death at the ripe young age of 35. Now, not only was he a genius musically, but he brought about a shift in storytelling by basing many characters on ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. He was also known for bringing something called opera buffa, which is the comedic style of opera, to the forefront. In addition to the aria, Mozart introduced something called the recitative, or speak singing, used as an introduction to an aria or a passing of information between characters. Let's enjoy this recitative and aria called Come Scoglio from Mozart's Cose fan tutte.
Temerari, sortite fuori di questo loco e non profani la lito infausto degli infomedetti, nostro cor, nostro retto, i nostri affetti. E non per voi, per gli altri invan, si cerca le nostre sedur. In tutta fede, che per noi già si diede, ai cari amanti, saprem loro osservar, infino a morte, a dispetto del mondo e della sorte. Come scoglio immoto resta contra i vento e la tempesta e la tempesta. Cose onor, questa mai forte,
Oh, right. So were you able to hear the difference of in the very beginning, it was sort of the voice versus the orchestra, back and forth, a conversation, if you will, very dramatic. And then the music begins, you hear an opening section with the orchestra, and that's leading into the aria. Okay, now we're moving on to the bel canto period, which is the 1780s through the 1850s. Now, the term bel canto is defined as beautiful singing. The music written during this period was focused on the voice itself and the singers themselves to show flexibility, breath control, range, and ease of line. I'd like to play the next example from Bellini's opera Norma, and this aria is sung by Miss Maria Callas. It's called Costa Diva. Oh, I hate cutting off some of my favorite singers, but there's so much music I want to play for you today. So you get little snippets of each stylistically. So that was Maria Callas, and she is just so cool. She was very popular in the 50s and 60s. She just sang everything and dramatically, her voice is not technically beautiful, but the drama of her acting and her performance is what made her so, so famous. So I hope you heard some of the beauty in the line, something called legato, which is the smoothness of line vocally. Okay, so by the mid 1800s, we've now shifted into romantic or grand opera. Now, Giuseppe Verdi was the Italian father of grand opera. Verdi was innovative by using huge casts, large orchestras, full choruses, dramatic sets, and even a full ballet on stage, in addition to all of the singers. Verdi was known for his new style of the aria in a two-part form called the cavatina cabaletta. I'd like to play a recording of myself singing an aria from Verdi's Macbeth, where you can hear an intro and the two distinct portions of the aria. This is Viennita Fretta from Verdi's Macbeth. And if I look a little wild in the eyes, it's because Lady Macbeth is on a rampage.
Ti vuoi
Then we arrive at the German composer Richard Wagner. He was the father of German romantic opera. Now, Wagner was not a good guy. He was known for many things, but first, with his opera, he was known for something called Gesamtkunstwerk, which in German translates to total ideal work of art. He believed his music was the synthesis of the arts as a whole, and he even wrote his own libretti, which means lyrics. His operas were all based on Nordic mythology, and his style requires the most dramatic voices available, as he had the orchestra underneath the singers, which showcases the voices as part of the orchestra itself. Now, his opera, Tristan and Isolde, turned music upside down by manipulating tonal changes. The opera itself starts with what we now refer to as the Tristan chord, which is famous for new use of intervals in a chord structure, using something called an augmented chord. Take a listen to this clip and see if you feel the emotional dissonance it creates. Now, after hearing those chords, I can't imagine a good outcome. It's sort of it's sort of foreshadowing something. It gives you that uncomfortable feeling. Again, it's called a dissonance in the music. The point of this new atonal chord is to feel the immediate unrest of the story. This Tristan chord became the musical theme for the character Tristan in Tristan and Isolde, and in turn, Wagner coined the term leitmotif, which we still use this style today in film music to represent the onset of a particular character. For example, the leitmotif to Jaws would be those little strings, dun 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 dun. Or you can use Darth Vader's theme from Star Wars, bum 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 ba-dum bum ba-dum. And those are all leitmotifs which musically express what's going on in the story and a particular character. Now, the reason the Tristan chord became so popular is because it was a turning point for all musical genres going into the 20th century. This chord is the very beginning of something called the disintegration of tonality itself. Now, in Tristan and Isolde, the opera does not resolve tonally until the finale, which is after Tristan's death. Here is the clip of that opera's finale called The Liebestod, which translates to Love Through Death. I'll set the scene for you. Tristan has been killed. And Isolde believes she is seeing his spirit rise to the heavens. She begins to find peace, realizing that if she also dies, they can finally be together. Very, very tragic. What I will do is play the beginning of this clip and then fast forward to the end so you can hear that musical resolution. That piece always gets me. I find it so epic that it could be so loud. It's just a wall of sound from the orchestra and from one voice, and then the whole piece ends in this just very gentle, peaceful moment, which is what I love so much about opera because it can go in any direction. Okay. So Richard Strauss was also a German composer, and his music continued that atonality that Wagner initiated and even did some further experimenting. His opera Elektra pushed boundaries, and if you ask me, I call it a horror opera. Elektra opens the opera by telling the audience she's digging up the axe which her mother used to kill her father. She will have revenge with this very same axe. Now, notice in this music, you can't hum along to any of the vocal lines. It's pretty eerie. So, this is a clip of a line, which is the first aria in Elektra. Okay. So that's Electra's pretty creepy. It's also one of my favorite roles. Now, from the 1920s onward, the music is now called new opera. The Gershwin brothers blurred opera with musical theater and jazz of the era when they wrote Porgy and Bess. Not only was it the first jazz-influenced operatic piece, but it was the first all African American cast and was inspired by folk traditions. Here is a clip of the song Summertime from Porgy and Bess.
Fish are jumping
Oh, right. In the 1970s, a new style was all the rage. The style was simplistic enough in nature. It had many, many repeats with slight variations. This style was called minimalism. Here is a clip from minimalist composer Philip Glass, his opera Satyagraha. This is the story of Gandhi, and it's sung in Sanskrit. Now, the clip I'm going to play for you is actually a clip from the promo to LA Opera because I want you to see visually what these type of productions can do. And you can hear the minimalistic music. It's that repetitive sort of concept and just visually stunning what they've done for this production. So this is an example of Satyagraha by Philip Glass. Now, as for recent opera, there has been an upswing in American opera and jazz opera, which are often sung in English. And there's no particular concrete style for American opera. I'm just personally intrigued to see what the next fashion in operatic style is. Now, I'd love to just play one clip of Renee Fleming singing Tosca's Vici d'arte, written by Puccini. It is one of the most beautiful arias and one of the most gorgeous renditions. I'd love to have you watch it, and then we can do some Q&A. All right. So let's see. I think we may have some questions in the chat box. Let's see. Or maybe not.
Yes, we do. We have a question here from Olivia, and she asks, do you or opera performers in general speak the languages you sing in? And if not, how do you know how to interpret the emotion of a particular song?
Okay, so what we do is whether it's the full operatic score or just an aria, which is a little segment from the opera, or if I'm singing a song in another language, an art song, I translate word for word. And I know something called International Phonetic Alphabet. So that's IPA. That's part of the studying process that we do in college for it. And you can phoneticize any language that there is in the world. And I speak German and I understand Italian and Spanish, and I sing in 14 languages. But
Wow.
again, I don't, I don't speak 14 languages. That's the truth. But you learn as you go along. You study the languages. So the very least that you do is whatever you're performing, you memorize, and know exactly what each word and each inflection means in the language. So that can be a bit time consuming, but it's also a really cool part of the process. And you learn so much about different languages, different cultures, and working with different coaches. It's just a wonderful experience all around to be learning. So that's how the language portion works.
That's so interesting. If anybody wants to see a really easy example of International Phonetic Alphabet, a lot of things in Wikipedia actually have that for a pronunciation guide, and it is a very specific way of writing things out that also linguists use a lot in their field of study. So it's really interesting that musicians also use that. See, there's another question coming in, and this one is from an anonymous participant. And so, how did you get interested in opera? And I'll add to this, I know that you have a very musical family. And so, did you, like wake up when you were a toddler and say you're going to be an opera singer, or how did it all happen for you?
Oh, for me, my story is, I don't know if it's boring, but it's silly. I started out as a violinist when I was 8 years old. I came from a musical family. My uncle is a bass player with the Cincinnati Symphony. My grandmother was a jazz singer with the USO. So I was always seeing music and I loved it. Started out at violin and then I was singing as an early teenager. I was recording with punk and ska bands. And then one day, my choir director said, "Hey, will you stay after class? Your voice is really loud, and I think you have a certain quality that could be used for opera." So then she got me an audition at pre-college at Juilliard, and I got in, and I never had a lesson in my life for voice. So it was a wild experience to start someplace like that, not having studied classical voice. But at the very least, I had studied music and music theory with the violin. So that helped me read music and have a better understanding of what was going on. But that's how my story went. Yeah.
Another question here that's anonymous, and I don't think that's boring at all. And I put this in the chat, but I hope that you develop a scopera style to combine all of your interests.
Opera.
And so we have a question here. How long do you rehearse, and how do you prepare for a performance? And it specifies including like your hair and your makeup and everything.
Oh, yes. Okay. So hair and makeup, if I'm doing my own, um, I need at least an hour to do full face and get the hair done. Um, let's see, how do you prepare? Let's start with how often I rehearse every day. How long do I rehearse? It could be something like 30 minutes just warming up the voice, or it can go up until 3 or 4 hours, depending on if I have a big rehearsal or not. I try not to sing 4 hours a day, that's too much. But a solid hour and a half a day is what normally happens. Um, let's see, what else? So if I have a show at 8 o'clock, I'll shower and get ready in the middle of the day, eat a banana or a half a sandwich, and then I'll start warming up around 5:30. Well, I'll warm up earlier in the day just to make sure the voice is there, and then I'll officially warm up around 5 or 5:30, then take a little break, and then be ready to perform at 7:30 or 8. So that's how that goes. But it is um it is very nerve-wracking. I have a concert this coming Saturday and then another one. Oh no, this coming Sunday and then another one this Saturday. They're very different styles. So I have to balance how long I rehearse in one style versus how long I rehearse in the other because you have to warm your voice into each style.
Mhm.
So you have to have an understanding of your instrument, knowing what you need for the process to work properly for you, so you don't have any vocal injuries or any exhaustion on the cords. Because the cords are actually paper thin, like toilet paper thin, and they roll like this. They come together and they roll. So they're the first pieces of your body to get dehydrated, and they are the last pieces of your body to get hydrated. So you want to make sure you're always drinking water.
Wow, that's so interesting. I didn't know that. And
Yeah.
how long would it take you in terms of rehearsing to get ready to actually do that performance?
Ooh, okay. So if I'm singing, let's say a lead role in an opera, I need if it's Electra, I need at least 6 months to learn the whole score because you have to learn that inside out. You have to learn your own part, you learn everyone around you so you know how to react. Obviously it's in well, not obviously. I don't know why I said that. Nothing's obvious in opera. But Electra is in German, so you have to have an understanding of and a command of the language itself. But here's the thing about being a performer. You can understand it as well as you do or as much as you want, but you have to be able to portray that understanding past the music, past the language barrier to the audience. And that is what makes the performance aspect so important. And live performances so exciting because you get to see that vibrancy sort of be expressed through the sound and through the music, which is pretty great. But yeah, I'll say for a full role, please and thank you, 6 months, because there is so much music to learn and to sing. And not only do you have to learn it and memorize it, but you have to have your voice be able to sing the whole role every single day. And a lot of time, opera can range from 1.5 hours to 4.5 hours. So it depends on which opera you're doing. And the longer the show, the more time for preparation.
Well, thank you. We have a few more questions coming
Oh,
in, so thank
yes.
you, everyone. These are some really good ones. Here's two that are both anonymous, and I'm going to combine them.
Okay.
So the first one is, have you ever had something unexpected happen during a live performance? And then the related one that I have here is, what do you do if your voice cracks mid-performance?
These are also good questions because they occur all the time. I will tell you my very first performance in undergrad. I fell off the stage and I just kept singing. And I was doing something very funny by Giacomo Rossini, who's an Italian composer, and it's called Duette buffo de due gatti, which is the song of the two cats. So the actual lyrics are the word meow sung in Italian style. And I was saying meow, meow, and I stepped out too far and I fell off the stage. What did I do? I just kept singing. I went right back up on the staircase and got right back on the stage and stayed in character. Everyone had a good laugh. It was a-okay. I think that you have to try to keep yourself as calm as possible because anything can happen. Let's see, if your voice cracks, oh, everyone has that happen to them. You just keep going. The hardest thing, because I know for me, if I make a mistake, I immediately go or ooh, or make some sort of response. So I acknowledge to the public, like, hey, I know this happened and it was my fault and I did it. So let's move on. But you try to stay as calm as possible because maybe somebody didn't notice it, and maybe your voice cracked because it was an emotional movement of the piece. So there's a little bit of playing it cool and a little bit of just being calm and moving forward with it. But unfortunately, the cracking does happen to all of us.
That is professionalism to meow off the stage and keep going. I really love that. We have a question here from Ramil, and sorry if I mispronounced that. You're also welcome to unmute yourself and ask it yourself, if you'd like. All right, I'll read it out. So, do opera singers train only with opera-specific vocal techniques, or do they also use other singing methods?
They use other singing methods. So when I teach voice, I teach all kinds of music, gospel, rock, um, jazz, musical theater, classical. My favorite is classical because I just know it's such an in-depth deep dive I've done. So that's my favorite. But I like to teach no matter what style the person is singing, they're going to have the core basics of classical voice because that's really involving your whole body as an instrument, not just the vocal cords themselves or your face or the sound coming out here. It's using your whole body as a pillar of sound and as a
Mm.
whole instrument that you keep vibrating. So, I work with all of my singers privately, no matter what style they're doing, they have a classical core. And if they're not going to be classical singers, that's a-okay. But there's still techniques that you could sort of bring back and forth to the different styles and genres of singing. And it's very important to be flexible in your mind and to be flexible in the voice and the throat. Again, because you might need let's say you have a scene that has a little more gusto to it, you're going to have more volume and more um, squealo in the voice, which has it coming out. These are the inner nares. So your air is coming out the inner nares. You have the squealo sound, but then you also want to have that really gorgeous, peaceful vibe too. If you have a love scene or a romance scene, where that flexibility really needs to be honed in. And I think of it as I'm singing a folk song and I'm singing something really intimately, or I'm singing a lullaby to a little baby in my arms. And that's, again, it's just the different genres that you sort of can bring into one whirlwind of opera or any style that you're singing.
Thank you so much. We have another question here. There are two more, and I have one I'd like to ask you as well. And when I'm asked my question, I'll say that that's our last call. And anybody who has a question that they still want to ask, you should put it into the chat or the box. So this question is from Mega, who you're also welcome to unmute and ask. But it is, what is your favorite performance, or what was your favorite performance? And I'll ask too if you have a favorite one that you were in as the audience and a favorite one that you had as a performer.
Okay. It's I said this, I feel like the last time somebody asked me this is my exact answer because it's true. Whenever you're working directly with a score, you fall so deeply in love with it that it becomes your new favorite. So whatever piece you're working on, you end up saying, "Oh, no, this is my favorite. Oh, this is my new favorite." But besides that, which happens every single time, I would say my favorite performance was Electra, the horror opera, because it's so off the rails and the music is so wild. It's like music from a horror movie as well. I loved that. I like that it was totally strange. And my so that was my favorite opera to be in. And my favorite opera to see, Aida. Oh man, they have that triumphal march, and it is like a rock concert with opera singers. It is so cool. If you have a chance to listen to Aida or see Aida at the Met or anywhere, please treat yourself. There's several wonderful recordings of Aida being sung by Leontine Price. She is just superb. So if you have a moment, check that out. Aida with Leontine Price.
Oh, thank you. I've really been privileged to see that one. It's great. So here we have a question from Arush. And again, if you want to ask, I'll give a second to find your button, but otherwise I will read it out. So, oh, this is a really interesting one. How do you know when a performance actually worked?
Ooh, good question. Because sometimes you come out of a performance and you have no idea what has happened. Like you go into autopilot. I can imagine that anybody here, whatever you're studying, and you're doing an exam, you go into autopilot mode. So you come out of it, however long an exam takes, let's say an hour and a half. I'll come out of an hour and a half opera, and I know I was there. I know I was on stage. I know I was singing, making noises, but I'm not really sure what has happened. So the experience is it can be out of body, but it can also be very earthing in a way because it makes you connect with the audience. So yeah, that's all there.
I can imagine that it feels like a very much like a flow state when you are really like
Right,
working with your fellow
right.
cast members and with the audience,
Yeah.
and it feels like you're all having this one experience. Like I'm not a performer, but I've definitely experienced that as an audience member, where it feels like there's that kind of exchange. It's really cool, and it's also
Yeah,
very
and
hard
I'll
to
say
describe.
it's there's no words for it. It's just an experience. And sometimes I will say this. Sometimes I think I did just okay, and then I'll listen to a recording of it and I'll say, "Oh, okay, I'm enjoying this. That was solid." And I'll feel really good about it then. Now, it would be ideal if I could just trust the process the whole way through. But we're all human, and we have our certain days that where things are difficult or we're more judgmental about ourselves over other days. So, that just comes with the territory. But it depends on what you see as good. And I see all good in music. So I think it's all a positive. I think it's all a learning experience, even if it wasn't the perfect performance. There's still something to take away from it.
Thank you. All right, so I'll ask a question, and this is also your last call for asking questions from the audience. You've given us some really interesting ones, so please, if you have one that is lingering for you, don't be afraid to ask it. So my question for you, Amanda, is that I know that here in New York, people automatically think of the Met when they think of going to the opera, but I also know that there's a lot more that is happening on the opera scene that people might not know about if they're less involved in the world like you are. But also some of those are, easier to get to, lower price, a little bit more casual. So if there are people who are here who are interested in getting to know opera a little bit better and seeing some live performances, what would you recommend to them beyond, like, kind of like opera beyond the Met?
Oh yes. Oh, so many things beyond the Met. We love the Met. And they can have some decent student prices, and that's a wonderful thing. The experience is so darn cool, but sometimes you can feel a little stuffy. Sometimes it's a little pricey. And there are always other options, which is a positive thing. Now, there is a small company in New York called New Amsterdam Opera, and you can just Google them. And they do performances, they do staged performances of operas with orchestra. And their tickets are like $10 or $15, which is amazing. They do a couple shows a year. There is the National Opera Center down on 29th Street and 7th Avenue, and they have three performance spaces within, or three theaters within the performance space and rehearsal spaces. And they're constantly booked with performances. So you could check out the National Opera Center's website and see who's performing, see if it's something that you're interested in or that you just like to try. A lot of the performances are free. which is wonderful. There's also New York City Opera has rejoined its forces with itself because they closed down a couple years ago. But they're up and running again. They do performances in Bryant Park, which are free with orchestra as well. Um, and there are a lot of just, for example, my friends and I, we do a lot of performances and we just put shows up. We produce shows ourselves. So it's word of mouth sometimes. If you're looking for anything, you could always email me and I could send you a list of what's going on or what's hot on the scene or what would be worth checking out if you have any interest in it at all. Um, yeah, there's always little, let me think. Is there any other little companies right now? Not that I know of at the moment, but definitely New Amsterdam Opera and the National Opera Center.
Thank you so much. Well, I really, really appreciate how much knowledge and talent you've shared with us tonight. It was really lovely both to hear from you and to kind of be on this journey through the history of opera and to also hear an insider perspective on the art and the training and the discipline that this all takes. So thank you so much for sharing it with us. And thank you everybody for being here with us this evening. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your night. And I'm going to put my email into the chat if you have any questions about anything related to Macaulay programming and the arts. I am here to talk to you, and I can also pass things along to Amanda, as well as our provost, Robin Meeks, who's been with us here tonight. We hope that you're really enjoying your first semester at Macaulay, and we are looking forward to seeing all of you at STEAM Festival in December. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a good
Thank you
night.
so much, everyone. Bye-bye.